Hi YouTubers! So it's springtime in New England. I know it's been quite a while since I made a video, and I thought I would make one today because it's a bright sunny day and I want you guys to see my very first orchid that I started a few years back is flowering for the fourth time. And it's not the biggest, best orchid in the world. This is the one right here. But look at this. It's flowering. Isn't that something? So I thought I would show you what's going on with some of my orchids. Now, some of you might remember that last summer I bought some new types of orchids, some Dendrobiums and some Cattleyas. So what I did, I was using a method that one of my favorite YouTubers named Ed, and I'll put a link in the description. Ed from the UK is an expert orchid grower. He really is fantastic. So he had a video on how if you have a small little orchid like this that has no roots, but it's still alive, you could lay it on top of bark and then just mist it, every other day, let it dry out, get it wet again, let it dry out, and eventually roots would come back. So I did that for most of the winter, and sure enough, roots did come back. So I really did like that method, and it worked for me. Once I started to get little nubs of roots, I decided to actually put it inside the bark of my Dendrobiums here. These are the Dendrobiums that I bought last year, and they are just doing fantastic. You can see some new little babies. They're really looking pretty good. They have some burn spots because in the springtime, in this window that I keep them in, you can see a dogwood tree out there. And when it's not in leaf, this does get quite a bit of southern exposure. So it does have some burn spots, but once the leaves come in on the dogwood tree, this will be a perfect spot in this south-facing window because it will be more shaded. So anyway, here you have the Cattleya. When we started out with this plant last summer, these leaves were so wrinkled up. They just were pathetic. They still don't look that great, but boy, have they improved. They're really starting to fill out. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to take this out of the bark and inspect it, and I haven't done this yet. And I can feel that it's really stuck in there. I don't want to pull and break any roots or anything. But I'm gently just going to lift this out, and we're going to look at it together and see what we have. So look at that. You can tell it really needs a drink right now. The roots are completely white. All right, let's take a look and see what we've got here. We have roots. I put some moss in there because even though I normally don't like to use a lot of moss, in this case I think it was a good idea because we wanted to really get these roots going. And it has worked. So there we have it. These are Cattleyas. Now, look at that. I'm actually going to put this in its own pot. And I'll be doing that today because I think it's ready. I just wanted to have it, this way I could just water one plant and keep track of it, and it would just be easier than putting it in its own pot. And I thought maybe the other plant would help to retain some moisture for it, and I think it did work. I'm pretty happy with this. So thanks, Ed from the UK. That was a really good tip. And as you can see, it's working. All right, so the Cattleya is much improved. Now let's take a look at the Dendrobiums. I'm really hoping to get these guys to flower. That would be nice because this is the first time I've ever grown Dendrobiums or Cattleyas. This is a whole new shoot right here, as is this one. Looks pretty good. We've got some little burnt edges. Like I said, I think that'll be okay. So we're going to give that a good soak today. And I've been watering this pot about twice a week, I'd say, giving it a really good soak. I just started feeding all my orchids again. This is an orchid that I had flowering since like before Thanksgiving. It's down to, look at this, 2 little flowers. But these things just have been hanging on for dear life. This plant was in my living room, so it was a little more neglected, but it seems to be okay. We've got roots there. And we've got green stems, and we've still got 2 flowers. Isn't that something? And what is this right here? I don't believe it. I think it's budding out. That's kind of weird because it's already, these flowers are supposed to be dying. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. And this thing, that's a bud. That is so weird. So I'm just going to let that go and see what we get out of that. That's kind of weird, huh? All right, so that looks good. Let's take down this big guy up here, who I was debating whether I was going to cut off the big stems or not. Let's see if I can show you this. I'm sorry for all the shakiness, guys. I'm not using my tripod or my stand today, so I apologize for the poor video. But anyway, this is one of my old orchids that people commented that the leaves were really big. It's long past flowering. I left the stems on this one this year, and I wanted to see what it would do because they never really dried out. And a lot of times the stems will just completely, let's see if I can zoom in on this. They'll completely turn brown. And I'm sorry for the poor lighting. I'm going to try to move this more into the sun over here. Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah, you can see it's still green. All the way up, it's still green and around the hoop here. And if we can zoom in on like a bud, let me see, a bad angle. Let me turn the whole plant on. I mean, if I don't see any swollen nodes on this, I'm probably going to cut these stems. But you can see that like, this is a little swollen, but it doesn't really look like there's any real happening, you know? So I have to decide, am I going to leave this and let it go, or give that energy back to the plant and see if it throws up another spike? But boy, I mean, it is a stiff green stem here. So that one, we've got to decide what we're going to do with that. And like I said, I just started feeding them in the springtime. None of them have had Epsom salts yet, so that has to be done as well. Let's take a look at this one. How pretty is this? This is my little phal that was once almost dead, and it just keeps hanging on. It's so funny. This is the 4th time it's flowered, and it's just starting out. Look, it's got more little buds here. But it hasn't thrown up any leaves, which is really kind of interesting. It's got 3 leaves on this plant, and it just seems like it doesn't want to make any more leaves. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. We'll put that back up there. Look how pretty. That really is a pretty orchid. It's just so tiny. And then over here we have another one of the old ones with the humongous leaves. No stem, no spikes. So let's take it down and take a look at it over here. All right, so look at that, new leaf coming up. Look at all those leaves. Isn't that funny how orchids can be so different? In the same exact conditions. This needs a good drink too, as you can tell. It's pretty thirsty. So we'll give that a good soak. And that's it for my orchids for now. I will keep you guys updated on how we go with the Cattleya. Hopefully we can get this to really start cranking out some new roots. And the Dendrobiums, hopefully we can get the Dendrobiums to flower, and everything else maybe we can get to flower. And this one, we'll see. I mean, if this is going to throw out some flowers while it's still flowering, that'll be a first for me. So maybe if anybody can comment, have you had an orchid produce a new flower spike while it was still flowering? I'd like to know if that's happened to you. Also, I want my subscribers to know that the next video I make, I'm going to be taking you all to Las Vegas with me, and I'm going to show you what I can for fish and orchids and some cool sights in Las Vegas. I'll be staying at the Aria, and I'm really looking forward to making some cool videos for you guys. So the discus are doing good. The orchids are doing good. I hope everything is doing good for you guys. And thanks to my new subscribers. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to hit that like button. And I will see you soon. Have a great spring. Bye-bye, guys.